The second Devourer ship fired its conversion beam at the station's main docking bay. Park Mina held her breath as the corrupting energy struck the section they had flooded with human biological signatures. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the beam began to flicker and sputter like a broken light. "It's working," Nixara shouted excitedly. "The conversion process is failing." Where the beam had touched the contaminated sections, the organic corruption spread for a few meters, then stopped. The Devourer technology seemed confused, unable to properly process the mixed human and Catherian biological data. "They're adapting," Veltar warned, watching his sensors. "The beam is changing frequency, trying to filter out the human contamination." "Then we change too," Captain Hyun declared. "Park Mina, rotate the contamination patterns. Don't let them lock onto a consistent signature." Dr. Choi Yuna was monitoring the effect on the converted Catherians. "Captain, the ones who were partially transformed, they're returning to normal. The human biological interference is reversing the conversion process." This was more than they had hoped for. Not only could human genetics prevent Devourer conversion, it could actually cure it. Sergeant Ryute studied the tactical display as the remaining 3 ships moved into attack position. "Captain, they're changing formation. Instead of coordinated attacks, they're spreading out randomly. They're trying to confuse us," Hyun realized. "Fighting unpredictability with unpredictability." "Then we fight chaos with chaos," Kim Jun suggested. "I can randomize our weapon targeting so even we don't know what we're shooting at." "Do it." The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded military history. Both sides fired randomly, moved unpredictably, and used tactics that made no logical sense. The space around the station filled with energy beams, projectiles, and debris as ships dodged and weaved in impossible patterns. Park Mina had modified the station's weapons to fire in completely random sequences. Sometimes they would concentrate all firepower on one target. Sometimes they would spread it uselessly across empty space. The Devourers couldn't adapt because there was nothing consistent to adapt to. "This is insane," Kethmos muttered, watching weapons fire at nothing while enemy ships went untargeted. "Insane and working," Veltar replied. "Look, one of their ships is having trouble with its adaptive systems. It keeps changing configuration to counter attacks that aren't coming." The Devourers were beginning to show signs of confusion. Their organic ships were designed to analyze and counter threats, but they couldn't analyze chaos. The constant random changes were overwhelming their adaptation capabilities. Dr. Choi Yuna had been working with Kim Jun on the biological warfare aspect. "Captain, I think I can weaponize our genetic incompatibility. If we can get human DNA into their ship's life support systems, how do we do that?" "Simple. We give them some humans to capture." The idea was so dangerous that even Sergeant Ryutai looked concerned. "Doctor, you're talking about boarding enemy vessels. Those ships are partially alive. They could convert or consume anyone who enters them." "Not if they can't process human biology," Choi Yuna insisted. "I think we're like poison to them. They can't eat us, they can't convert us, and our presence disrupts their systems." Captain Hyun considered the plan. It was risky beyond measure, but everything they had tried so far was risky beyond measure. "I'll lead the boarding team," he decided. "Sir, you can't," Ryute began. "I can and I will. If this works, we need someone in command to coordinate. If it fails, you'll need to get everyone to safety." Park Mina and Nixara had been working together to modify human boarding equipment for the assault. "Captain, we've rigged your suits with biological dispensers. Every breath you take, every step you make will spread human genetic material through their ship. Like a virus," Veltar added with admiration. "You are turning yourselves into weapons." The boarding team consisted of Captain Hyun, 2 security officers, and Dr. Choi Yuna. They approached the nearest Devourer ship in a small shuttle, expecting to be destroyed at any moment. Instead, the organic vessel seemed almost hesitant to attack them. Its weapons tracked their approach but didn't fire. "They're confused," Kim Jun reported from the station. "Their systems can't classify your shuttle as either threat or resource." The boarding party attached to the Devourer ship's hull and began cutting through. The moment they entered, alarms began blaring throughout the organic vessel. "The ship is in distress," Choi Yuna observed, reading her bioscanner. "Just our presence here is causing system failures." They moved through corridors that pulsed like blood vessels, past control nodes that writhed like living nervous systems. Everywhere they went, the ship's organic components began to shut down or malfunction. "It's like we're a disease," one of the security officers said with disgust. Exactly, Hyun replied. Keep moving. They reached what appeared to be the ship's central control area, a massive chamber filled with organic computers and neural networks. At the center was something that might have been a brain, connected to the ship's systems by thousands of neural pathways. That's their central consciousness, Choi Yuna breathed. The ship's mind. When they approached it, the organic brain began to convulse. Neural pathways sparked and failed as human biological signatures interfered with its processing systems. Captain, Kim Jun's voice crackled through the comm. The entire Devourer fleet is showing signs of distress. Whatever you're doing over there, it's affecting all of them. They're networked, Hyun realized. All their ships share information. Our interference is spreading through their entire fleet. The central brain made a sound like screaming, a harmonics-based shriek that hurt their ears even through their helmets. Then suddenly it went silent. The ship is dead, Choi Yuna reported. Complete neural shutdown. Through the organic viewports, they could see the other Devourer ships beginning to drift. One by one, their biosignatures were failing as the human genetic contamination spread through their shared network. Impossible, came Kethmos's voice from the station. 5 Devourer ships defeated by 4 humans walking around? Not defeated, Veltar corrected. Poisoned. The humans didn't destroy them. They infected them with incompatible biology. Back on the station, the celebration was subdued. They had won, but the cost of knowledge was sobering. The Devourers had transmitted data about human capabilities to their collective consciousness before dying. They know about us now, Hyun said grimly. Every Devourer in the galaxy will have information about human biology and tactics. Then they will come for your people, Veltar said sadly. Let them come, Sergeant Ryute replied. Now we know how to fight them. Park Mina was already studying the captured Devourer technology. Captain, if we can reverse engineer their adaptive systems and combine them with our chaos tactics, we might be able to protect other species, Nixara added excitedly. The Devourers have been unstoppable for 50 years, but humans found their weakness in one battle. Dr. Choi Yuna was treating the last of the converted Catherians, using human genetic material to reverse their transformation. The interesting thing is, our biology doesn't just interfere with their conversion process, it immunizes against it. Any species exposed to human genetics becomes resistant to Devourer conversion. So humans aren't just poison to them, Hyun mused. We're medicine for their victims. Kim Jun had been monitoring long-range communications. Captain, I'm picking up signals from other parts of the galaxy. Word is spreading about our victory. There are other species out there hiding from the Devourers. Then we'd better go find them, Hyun decided. If there are more survivors who need help, we're going to help them. Veltar approached the captain with deep respect. Captain Hyun, you have given my people hope for the first time in 50 years. How can we repay this debt? By helping us help others, Hyun replied. We're stronger together than apart. As the combined human Catherian fleet prepared to leave the abandoned station, they carried with them something new, proof that the Devourers could be defeated, and that the galaxy's scattered survivors might finally have a chance to fight back. The first Devourer ship appeared on the long-range sensors like a nightmare made real. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of the largest human vessel, and its hull seemed to pulse with organic movement. That's not a ship, Dr. Choi Yuna whispered, staring at the readings. It's alive. Captain Hyun studied the approaching vessels through the station's enhanced sensors. 5 ships in total, each one different in shape but sharing the same disturbing organic quality. They looked like they had been grown rather than built. Veltar, are they always like this? Hyun asked. The Catherian nodded grimly. The Devourers consume biological matter and use it to grow their technology. Their ships are part machine, part living creature. That is why they are so difficult to destroy. Kim Jun was monitoring communication frequencies. Captain, I'm picking up some kind of signal from the lead ship. It's not like any language I've heard. More like mental static. Suddenly, every Catherian on the station collapsed to their knees, holding their heads in pain. Veltar's harmonics became a harsh screech of agony. They're in our minds, Kethmos cried out. The Devourers communicate through forced mental contact. Dr. Choi Yuna rushed to help the suffering aliens while Hyun grabbed his comm unit. All human crew report status immediately. One by one, his crew checked in. None of the humans were affected by whatever was attacking the Catherians. Interesting, Sergeant Ryute observed. They can hurt the Catherians, but not us. Veltar managed to speak through his pain. Human minds. Different structure. They cannot penetrate your thoughts as easily. The mental attack lasted only minutes, but it left the Catherians weakened and frightened. As the pain faded, a new sound filled the station's communication system. A cold, emotionless voice speaking perfect Catherian. Escaped specimens detected. Biological resources will be harvested. Resistance is irrelevant. Adaptation will occur. Kim Jun worked frantically to translate the alien speech. They're talking about the Catherians like livestock. Because that is what we are to them, Veltar said bitterly. Food and raw material for their ships. The lead Devourer vessel fired a scanning beam that swept across the station. Wherever the beam touched, metal began to corrode and organic material started to dissolve. They're analyzing our defenses, Park Mina reported from the engineering station. Every weapon system they scan, they'll learn to counter. Then let's not give them time to learn, Hyun decided. All batteries, open fire! The station's weapons unleashed a coordinated barrage. Human and Catherian technology worked together, sending energy beams and projectiles toward the approaching ships. For a moment, it looked like they might have a chance. Then the Devourers adapted. Impossible, Nixara breathed, watching the displays. They're changing their hull composition in real time. Our weapons are becoming less effective with each shot. Sergeant Ryu Tae studied the tactical display. Captain, this is unlike any enemy I've trained to fight. They're not using standard ship configurations or predictable movement patterns. What do you mean? Watch their approach vector. They should be trying to minimize their profile or maximize their firepower positioning. Instead, they're moving in completely random patterns. Veltar looked up from his console. Not random, optimal. They calculate the most efficient approach for their specific capabilities against our specific defenses. As our defenses change, their approach changes. They're thinking faster than we can adapt, Hyun realized. The first Devourer ship reached weapons range and opened fire. The energy that struck the station was unlike anything in human experience. It didn't just damage metal and systems, it seemed to corrupt them. Where the beam hit, the station's hull began to change, taking on the same organic appearance as the Devourer ships. They're converting our materials, Park Mina shouted over the alarms. The station is being transformed into part of their ship. Dr. Choi Yuna made a horrifying discovery as she studied the effect. It's not just converting materials, it's converting the Catherians too. Anyone touched by that beam starts to change at the cellular level. Several Catherians who had been near the impact points were already showing signs of the transformation. Their pale blue skin was darkening and their thoughts were becoming confused and hostile. We have to stop this, Hyun declared. How? Kethmos demanded. They adapt to every weapon, every tactic. Our civilization had centuries of military experience, and we could not defeat them. Your civilization fought them like civilized beings, Hyun replied grimly. We're going to fight them like humans. He turned to his crew. Park Mina, I want you to overload every system we have, weapons, life support, even the coffee makers. Don't make them efficient, make them unpredictable. Sir, that could destroy the station. Better destroyed than converted. Ryu Tae, I want you to forget everything you learned in military school. No standard tactics, no predictable maneuvers. Captain, that goes against every principle of space combat. Good. Kim Jun, patch me into their communication system. I want to talk to these things. Sir, they forced their way into Catherian minds. They might do the same to you. Let them try. When the communication link opened, Hyun felt a strange pressure in his head, like something trying to push its way into his thoughts. Unlike the Catherians, he was able to resist it. This is Captain Lee Hyun of the Human Colonial Alliance, he announced. You're attacking our allies. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The Devourer response was immediate and contemptuous. Inferior species. Biological classification. Unsuitable for consumption. You will be eliminated as waste material. Unsuitable for consumption? Hyun looked at Dr. Choi Yuna. What does that mean? She was already analyzing the scans the Devourers had taken of the station. Captain, I think they're having trouble categorizing human biology. We're too different from species they've encountered before. They can't eat us. Maybe they don't know how to process us. Our neural structure, our genetic patterns when we might be toxic to them. This gave Hyun an idea. A crazy, dangerous, completely illogical idea that no sane military officer would consider. Park Mina, can you rig our life support to pump human pheromones and biological signatures throughout the station? Yes, sir, but why would we? Because if they can't process human biology, maybe human biology can interfere with their conversion process. Veltar understood immediately. You want to contaminate their conversion beam with human genetic material? Exactly. They adapt to weapons and tactics, but can they adapt to a biology that's fundamentally incompatible with their systems? Nixara looked excited. It could work. If their conversion process is designed for standard galactic biology, human genetics might act like a virus in their system. That's the most insane plan I've ever heard, Sergeant Ryute said admiringly. It might actually work. As the second Devourer ship moved into position to fire another conversion beam, the humans and Catherians prepared their desperate countermeasure. They were about to find out if human biology could do what advanced weapons and superior tactics could not. The battle for survival was about to begin. Park Mina stared at the Catherian weapon systems with frustration. Every component was perfectly designed, mathematically precise, and completely different from human technology. This should be impossible, she muttered, trying to connect a human power relay to an alien targeting computer. Nixara watched her work with fascination. You are connecting systems that were never meant to work together. Our engineers would say this violates basic compatibility principles. Basic principles don't win battles, Park Mina replied, forcing the connection with some creative welding. Sometimes you have to make things work whether they want to or not. Sparks flew as the hybrid system came online. According to all logic, it should have exploded. Instead, it hummed quietly and began feeding power to the station's defensive arrays. Incredible, Nixara whispered. You made it work by ignoring the rules. Dr. Choi Yuna was having her own challenges in the medical bay. Catherian physiology was completely different from human biology. But she was determined to keep everyone alive. Their immune systems are failing, she explained to Captain Hyun. 3 years of poor nutrition has weakened them severely. I'm trying to synthesize nutrients using our food processors, but it's like trying to feed a fish with bird food. One of the younger Catherians, barely adult by their standards, was in critical condition. Choi Yuna had been working on him for hours, using a combination of human medical techniques and Catherian healing technology. The interesting thing is, she continued, our medical approach is completely different from theirs. They use very precise calculated treatments. We use broad-spectrum approaches and adapt as we go. Is that working? Hyun asked. Better than their precise methods, actually. Their medical computers can't adapt to malnutrition because it was never supposed to happen. Our adaptive medicine is saving lives they couldn't save themselves. Kim Jun had made remarkable progress with communications. He discovered that Catherian language wasn't just words and harmonics. It included mathematical equations embedded in normal speech. They literally think in formulas, he explained to the command team. When they say good morning, they're also calculating the optimal time for beginning daily activities based on circadian rhythms and work efficiency. No wonder they're so organized, Sergeant Ryute commented. Everything they do is mathematically optimized. That's also why they're so amazed by us, Kim Jun continued. We make decisions based on intuition, emotion, and experience. To them, we're solving complex problems without showing our work. Veltar had been working closely with the humans, translating technical information and helping coordinate between the two species. He seemed increasingly amazed by human problem-solving methods. Captain Hyun, he said during a brief break, I must ask you something. How do you make decisions so quickly? When we faced the Devourers, our military councils would debate for days before choosing a strategy. We don't have days, Hyun replied. When something needs doing, we do it. We can fix the problems later. But what if you choose wrongly? Then we choose again. Humans are good at changing their minds when something isn't working. This concept seemed to disturb Veltar. In Catherian society, changing decisions is seen as failure. Leaders who reverse their choices lose credibility. In human society, leaders who refuse to change lose battles, Ryutai added grimly. The cultural differences became even more apparent when Kethmos approached Captain Hyun with a formal proposal. Captain, I have been observing your crew's methods. I wish to propose an organized defense plan based on optimal positioning and calculated weapon deployment. Hyun looked at the detailed mathematical projection Kethmos had prepared. It was beautiful, precise, and would probably work perfectly if the enemy followed Catherian tactical doctrine. This is excellent work, Hyun said diplomatically, but the Devourers don't fight like Catherians, do they? No, Kethmos admitted reluctantly. They adapt to overcome any organized strategy. Then we won't use an organized strategy. We'll improvise. Improvise? Kethmos looked confused. You mean, make up tactics as the battle progresses? Exactly. If we don't know what we're going to do, neither will they. This idea seemed to horrify the elderly Catherian, but without planning, without organization, without careful calculation, we'll probably lose, Hyun agreed. But at least we'll confuse them while we're losing. Park Mina had been listening while working on weapon systems. Captain, I've got an idea. What if we combine their precision with our chaos? Explain. Their targeting computers are incredibly accurate, but they follow predictable firing patterns. What if we program them to fire randomly instead? Nixara looked shocked. Random firing? That would waste ammunition and reduce efficiency. But it would also be impossible to predict, Park Mina grinned. The Devourers won't be able to adapt to completely random tactics. Veltar paused, considering. That's actually brilliant. Inefficient, but brilliant. Dr. Choi Yuna made another discovery while treating the Catherians. Captain, their neural structure gives them some interesting abilities. They can share memories and thoughts through those harmonic frequencies. Telepathy? Ryutai asked. Not exactly. More like biological radio. They can coordinate their thoughts in ways we can't. Could that help us in battle? Maybe. If we could link human intuition with their coordination abilities. Kim Jun was already working on the technical challenge. I might be able to create a translation interface that lets humans participate in their thought-sharing network. Is that safe? Hyun asked. Probably not, Choi Yuna admitted. Human brains aren't designed for that kind of connection, but it might give us an edge. As the Devourer ships drew closer, the humans and Catherians worked together with growing efficiency. Each species contributed their strengths while covering for the other's weaknesses. Park Mina and Nixara had created weapons that no engineer from either species could have built alone. Dr. Choi Yuna had developed hybrid medical protocols that kept everyone fighting fit. Kim Jun had established communication systems that allowed seamless coordination between humans and aliens. You know, Veltar said to Captain Hyun as they watched the mixed crews working together. When the Devourers first attacked, we tried to fight them using only Catherian methods. We failed because we could not adapt quickly enough. And if we tried to fight them using only human methods, we'd probably fail too, Hyun replied. We don't have your precision or your advanced technology. But together we might have a chance. Sergeant Ryu Tae approached with the latest sensor readings. Captain, the Devourer ships will be in weapons range in 2 hours. They're not trying to hide or maneuver, they're coming straight at us. Confident, Hyun observed. They have reason to be, Kethmos said sadly. They have never lost a battle. Well, Hyun said with determination, they've never fought humans before. Dr. Choi Yuna worked without rest as more Catherians woke from their long sleep. Each one was weak and confused, speaking in those strange harmonic frequencies that made her translator work overtime. Their metabolism is completely different from ours, she explained to Captain Hyun while checking another patient. They can survive in deep sleep for years, but when they wake up, they need special nutrients we don't have. Park Mina had been working in the station's engineering sections for 18 hours straight. Captain, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we've stabilized life support for now. The bad news is this whole station is held together by hope and spare parts. A young Catherian engineer named Nixara had been following Park Mina around, watching her work with fascination. Unlike the others, Nixara seemed excited rather than afraid of the humans. Your repair methods are unusual, Nixara said through the translator. You make systems work that should not work, Park Mina grinned. We call it human engineering. If it works, it's not stupid. Kim Jun had set up a communication center where he worked with several Catherians to improve translation protocols. Captain, I'm starting to understand their culture better. They have a very ordered society. Everything has rules and procedures. That explains why they're so amazed by our repair work, Hyun replied. We break rules to solve problems. Veltar had become the unofficial leader of the awakening Catherians. He moved slowly between the sleeping pods, checking on his people with obvious care. When he reached the human command post, his forearms moved in what the translator called a gesture of respect. "Captain Hyun, I must tell you about my people's history with the Devourers," Veltar said. "Perhaps it will help you understand the danger we face." Hyun sat down across from the tall alien. "Tell me everything. The Devourers appeared in our galaxy 50 years ago. They are not like other species. They do not communicate, they do not trade, they do not make peace. They simply consume." Veltar's eyes grew distant. "They strip all living matter from planets, plants, animals, even bacteria. Then they use that biological mass to grow their ships and make more of themselves." "How many worlds did they take?" Choyuna asked. 17 Catherian colonies. Billions of my people." Veltar's voice became very quiet. "Our military tried to fight them. We had superior technology, better ships, more organized tactics. We lost every battle." Sergeant Ryute had been listening from his security station. "How is that possible? You obviously know how to build incredible technology." "Because they adapt," Veltar explained. "Every weapon we used, every tactic we tried, they learned to counter it within hours. Our rigid military doctrine could not change fast enough." Parkmina looked up from her work. "What about your government? Why didn't they evacuate everyone?" Veltar's expression became bitter. "The Council of Worlds decided that only essential personnel would be saved. Scientists, artists, engineers like us were classified as non-essential. They took the politicians, the military leaders, the wealthy families. They left us here to die." "That's horrible," Choyuna said. "It is logical by Catherian standards," Veltar replied sadly. "Resources were limited. The important people must be saved first," Kim Jun frowned. "But you're stellar engineers. You understand space better than anyone. How are you not essential?" "Because we think differently than the leadership. We ask questions, we experiment. We sometimes break rules to solve problems. The council found us troublesome." Hyun felt anger rising in his chest. No military leader he knew would abandon scientists and engineers. Those were exactly the people you needed most in a crisis. Nixara approached their group, moving with the quick excitement of youth. "Captain Hyun, Parkmina has shown me human repair techniques. They are very strange but very effective. Could I work with your engineers?" "Of course," Hyun said. "We can learn from each other." As the hours passed, more Catherians woke up. There were families among them, mates and children who had been separated by the random assignment to different sleeping pods. The reunions were touching with harmonic songs that needed no translation. An elderly Catherian named Kethmos was among the last to wake. Unlike the others, he seemed suspicious of the humans. He spoke privately with Veltar for a long time before approaching Hyun. "Young captain," Kethmos said formally, "Veltar tells me you risk your mission to help us. Why do you do this?" "Because it's the right thing to do," Hyun replied simply. "But we offer you nothing in return. We are refugees with no resources, no government, no power to repay your kindness." Hyun studied the old alien's face. "We don't help people because we expect payment. We help because they need help." Kethmos was quiet for a long moment. "This is not how civilized species behave. There are always costs, always obligations. Maybe that's the difference between us and civilized species," Hyun said with a slight smile. Dr. Choi Yuna had been studying the Catherian medical data and made an interesting discovery. "Captain, their brain structure is fascinating. They have enlarged areas for mathematical processing and spatial reasoning. They literally think in 3 dimensions. That explains their stellar engineering abilities," Kim Jun added. "They can visualize complex structures in their minds." Parkmina and Nixara returned from the engineering sections, both covered in grease and looking pleased with themselves. "Captain, you need to see this," Parkmina said excitedly. "The technology in this station is incredible. They have power systems that are 95% efficient. Our best reactors only hit 60%. More importantly," Nixara added, "they have stellar manipulation technology. They can actually move small stars." "I've moved stars." Ryutai looked skeptical. "For deep space construction projects," Veltar explained. "We build space habitats in systems with unstable stars by moving them to safer positions." Hyun felt excitement building. This technology could revolutionize human space exploration. But his excitement died when he remembered the approaching Devourer ships. "How much time do we have?" he asked Kim Jun. 12 hours, maybe less. They're moving faster than our long-range sensors initially calculated. Veltar stood up slowly. Captain Hyun, you must leave us now. Take your ship and run. The Devourers will not follow you if you abandon us. We're not abandoning anyone, Hyun said firmly. You do not understand, Kethmos interrupted. These creatures destroyed our entire civilization. Your single ship cannot fight them. Maybe not, Hyun replied. But we're going to try. Veltar stared at him. You would fight the Devourers to protect strangers? Your own species would not risk so much for aliens. You don't know humans very well, Sergeant Ryute said with a grim smile. We're not very good at running away. Park Mina was already studying the station's defensive systems. Captain, most of their weapons are offline, but I might be able to get some of them working. If Nixara helps me understand their technology, do it, Hyun ordered. Everyone else prepare for battle. We're about to find out what humans can do when they're really angry. Captain Lee Hyun stared at the display screen with growing curiosity. 3 days into their mission in the outer spiral, his ship had detected something unusual. The energy reading was weak but steady, coming from empty space between 2 distant stars. Kim Jun, can you get a better reading on that signal? Hyun asked his navigator. Kim Jun's fingers moved quickly over his control panel. It's definitely artificial, Captain. The energy pattern doesn't match any known technology in our database. Park Mina looked up from her engineering station. Sir, whatever it is, it's big. My scans show a structure at least 5 kilometers long. Dr. Choi Yuna turned from her science console. Captain, I'm detecting very faint life signs. Something is alive over there. Hyun felt his pulse quicken. In 200 years of space exploration, humans had met only 3 alien species, all peaceful traders. Finding unknown technology with life signs was extraordinary. Sergeant Ryute, prepare a boarding team, Hyun ordered. Park Mina, scan for any dangers. We're going to investigate. The security chief nodded. Yes, sir. Should I contact command for permission? Hyun hesitated. Standard protocol required approval for any first contact situation, but the life signs were weak and getting weaker. By the time they received permission, whatever was over there might be dead. Negative. We're too far from command and those life signs won't wait for paperwork. As they approached, the object became clearer on their screens. It was a massive space station, dark except for a few flickering lights. The design was unlike anything in human records. Smooth curves instead of straight lines with strange symbols carved into the hull. It's beautiful, whispered Choi Yuna. Look at those patterns. They're not just decorative. They seem to channel energy through the entire structure. Park Mina studied her readings. The station is old, maybe 800 years. Most systems are dead, but something is keeping minimal life support running in a few sections. Kim Jun established a communication link with the station's computers. I'm getting some kind of automated distress signal. It's been repeating for 3 years. 3 years, Hyun frowned. And no one has come to help them? The boarding team suited up quickly. Hyun led the way with Park Mina, Ryutai, and 2 security officers. They docked with what appeared to be an airlock, though its design was completely foreign. Inside, the station was cold and dark. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on the curved walls. The air was thin but breathable. Their footsteps echoed strangely in the low gravity. Life signs are coming from that direction. Ryutai pointed down a long corridor lined with what looked like sleeping chambers. They found the first alien in a transparent pod filled with glowing liquid. The creature was humanoid, but taller and thinner than humans with pale blue skin and 4 arms. Tubes and wires connected it to the pod's life support system. It's alive, Park Mina said, checking the pod's displays. Barely. These readings show the system is failing. They found more pods throughout the section. Most were dark and empty, but dozens still held living occupants. In the center of the area, they discovered one pod that was different, larger and with more complex displays. The alien inside was awake. 4 large, dark eyes stared at them through the transparent material. The creature's mouth moved and a weak voice came through speakers in the pod. Please, help us. The words were in perfect English. Kim Jun quickly connected his translator device to the pod's communication system. How do you know our language? We learned from your broadcasts. Years ago, the alien replied weakly. I am Veltar, stellar cartographer of the Catherian people. I'm Captain Lee Hyun of the human ship Soul's Light. How can we help you? Veltar's eyes filled with something that looked like tears. Our government. Abandoned us here. When the Devourers came, they said we were not essential. Left us to die. Park Mina was already examining the pod systems. Captain, this life support will fail within hours. The whole station is running on backup power that should have died years ago. How many survivors? Hyun asked Veltar. 847, in deep sleep. Many already died, systems failing one by one. Hyun made his decision quickly. Park Mina, what do we need to stabilize their life support? Our power cells, some spare parts, and about 12 hours of work. But sir, this will delay our mission by weeks. The mission can wait. We're not leaving anyone to die out here. Veltar stared at Hyun in amazement. You would help us? We are strangers, aliens to you. That doesn't matter, Hyun replied firmly. No one deserves to be abandoned. Back on the Soul's Light, the crew worked frantically. Park Mina led a team to connect human power systems to the alien station. It was like trying to fit square plugs into round holes. But human engineering had always been about making impossible things work. Their technology is incredible, Park Mina reported to Hyun. These power conduits are more efficient than anything we have, if we could understand how they work. Dr. Choi Yuna was studying Veltar's biology. Captain, their physiology is amazing. They seem designed for long space voyages, but they're dying from something like malnutrition. Their food synthesis systems failed months ago. Kim Jun worked on communication systems. Sir, I'm learning their language. It's mathematical, based on harmonic frequencies. They use sound patterns we can barely hear. As the hours passed, more Cytherians began to wake up. They stared at the humans with wonder and fear. Most had never seen an alien species before. Veltar grew stronger as the life support improved. He told them about Cytherian society, a peaceful civilization of stellar engineers who built deep space habitats and mapped star systems for thousands of years. We were always careful. Always followed rules, Veltar explained. When the Devourers attacked our worlds, the government evacuated only the most important people. Scientists like us. We were left behind. What are these Devourers? Hyun asked. Veltar's forearms trembled. They consume everything living on a planet, then move to the next world. They came from outside our galaxy. We could not stop them. Ryu Tai leaned forward. Are they still out there? Yes. They hunt any Cytherians who escaped. That is why we hide in deep space. Why our own people abandoned us here. Late in the shift, Park Mina made a disturbing discovery. Captain, the station's long-range sensors are detecting something. Multiple ships approaching our position. Hyun felt ice in his stomach. Cytherian rescue ships? Veltar looked at the sensor data and went pale. No, Captain Hyun. Those are Devourer ships. They have found us.